Hey everybody, I'm Mah-Dry-Bread, and I just came up with a really stupid idea. Would I be able to beat the first generation of Pokemon with only Rattata? I know some people have done more terrifying challenges, like Pikaspri somehow beating Gen 1 with only a Ditto, probably the most insane challenge I've seen, and J-Rose 11 beating half of Pokemon Blue with only a Magikarp before losing the run to its inability to hit a ghost. Well, I'm not as insanely good as them, but I have been playing Pokemon since the games came out here in Canada in 1998, right after my 6th birthday. I figure I'm probably creative enough to find a way. Rattata might not be completely useless, but it's easily one of the weakest Pokemon in Gen 1. It has the 8th lowest stats in the game, with the 5th lowest health, 10th lowest defense, and 5th lowest special. This thing dies really fast. It also has an overall small and unimpressive list of moves it learns other than Hyper Fang and Super Fang. Considering I don't get Super Fang until level 34, I imagine Brock is gonna be nearly impossible. Maybe the hardest fight in the game. On the upside, it can learn a few decent TMs, and Super Fang gives us a fighting chance against even the tankiest of rock Pokemon late in the game. Plus, if I get a chance to chug down enough X-Defense and abuse potions hard enough, I could probably outlast enemies by using Toxic if I want to go that route. It's gonna be brutal, but I bet this is doable. By the way, I know I'll get crucified no matter how I say Rattata. Look, I'm trying my best here. My accent is weird as hell, just know that I'm trying to get it right. Fun fact, I'm actually writing this script as I go through the challenge, so all of this part is being written before I've started. This isn't me being weird and fancy with the perspective, I genuinely don't know if I can do this. In fact, everyone comment below and guess if you think I can do it or not. I'm interested to see how many of you think I'm gonna completely bomb this run. Let's get the rules out of the way. In combat, I can only use Rattata. That means no cheesy tricks like switching to another Pokemon to remove stat changes or letting another Pokemon take hits while I use potions. Any other Pokemon on my team are just there to use HMs in the field, and if my Rattata faints, the other Pokemon just have to sit there and take hits till they faint too. It's basically a blackout. Also, no using glitches and exploits to finish the game, that's not fun. I'm doing all of this in Pokemon Blue because I like the color blue, but this challenge would be nearly identical in red, so far as I know. Without further ado, let's get started. Now, I'm not a super cool hacker who knows how to Game Shark the game into giving me a Rattata at the start, so I just picked a starter like a pleb. I went with Bulbasaur because it's the coolest starter, objectively, and also so my rival picks Charmander, and with my limited knowledge, I just assume Charizard is going to be the hardest to beat at the end of the game, and I want the challenge. So we start exactly how you'd think we would. Fight my rival, go to the Pokemart, grab the parcel, take it to Oak. Then we can finally catch the first Rattata we find, and I deposit my Bulbasaur into the PC. Although, being me, I accidentally killed the first Rattata because I'm useless. I got the second one and named it Manbar. I'd release Bulbasaur because that's hilarious, but I should probably hold on to him until later in the game when I can give him Cut. Now is the time we can finally really start. And it's probably a boring first step, but the first thing I do is run for Viridian Forest and fight some Metapods and Caterpies. Rattata is super fragile at this low level, and I really need to fight something equally as pathetic to win. Caterpie has the lowest base stats in the entire game, and Metapod flat out doesn't fight back, so this is an easy win to get a few early levels. But my god, the one time I actually want to run into fights in Viridian Forest, and it feels like I have to run forever to find anything. I remember the encounter rate being way higher than this. Thankfully, I didn't have to do this for too long because at level 7 I got Quick Attack and decided it's time to start taking a crack at the trainers here. They were all a complete cakewalk, and I managed to level up a bit to level 9. But then I got too cocky and decided to go to the optional fight with my rival, just to end up getting sand attacked into oblivion. Blacking out in this game makes you lose half of your money, and the only renewable source of money in the game is fighting the Elite Four over and over, so I need to be way more careful. I spent a bit of time leveling up to level 14 to learn Hyper Fang, an 80 power move with a 10% chance to flinch, then went back to deal with my rival. This time, complete pushover, and I decided that even though there would be no chance to win, I should at least try to fight Brock and see how close I am. I traveled to Pewter City and make short work of the junior trainer in the gym, then went on to Brock himself. Brock opens the fight with his Geodude, and right off the bat I get lucky with him, flinching after a Hyper Fang. This is only a 10% chance of happening. He manages to whittle me down to just above half health with a few tackles, but I manage to take him out with enough Hyper Fangs and a tackle of my own. Next up is his Onix, and I get insanely lucky with how stupid Brock is. It starts rough with me missing a Hyper Fang and being crit with a tackle, but luck was in my favor and I crit in return with a Hyper Fang. That's when Brock does the dumbest thing he could have. He had Onix use Bide. Bide lets him sit around for a few turns, then attack me for double the damage that I deal to him. So I just sit there tail whipping him to lower his defense while he does nothing. I also use a potion for 20 of my health, as his Bide fails, then get right back to Hyper Fangs. It still doesn't do that much, but it's all over. Onix can only tackle me for 5 damage, and I do more than he does now. After my very first attempt and thinking that I'd need to be at least level 20, I managed to win my first try at level 15. After that shockingly easy fight, I just healed up and headed east. I should note now that there are a ton of skippable trainers. I'm probably just gonna fight all of them. Not only do I need the experience if I'm gonna be in an uphill battle in terms of team size the whole game, but I need every last dollar I can get. I can only assume that large chunks of the latter game will be me chugging X attack and potions to try and sweep bosses, and I absolutely can't afford to run out of money as a result. The route before Mount Moon was pretty standard, just quick attack and tackle a lot. The occasional Hyper Fang when it's high health or defense Pokemon. That's probably going to be the standard routine for quite a while. Mount Moon itself wasn't too bad because muscle memory kicked in from the dozens of times I beat it as a kid, and I could navigate around without any real trouble. The only real worrying fight in Mount Moon was the hiker that had 2 Geodudes and an Onix, but thankfully I was a much higher level than them, and even with their crazy defenses and my terrible stats, I managed to outmuscle them with Hyper Fang. On my way out, I took the Helix Fossil. I'll never be able to use the Omastar that comes out of it, obviously, but I know that if I didn't say what fossil I took, you'd all ask. Actually, now that I think about it, everyone ask anyway, the comments are good for the YouTube algorithm. Anyway, I left Mount Moon and went to Cerulean City. I spelled Cerulean wrong in my notes. I healed up and went straight for Misty's gym to try and get some experience from the trainers in there, and hit level 23. At level 23, Rattata learns Focus Energy, but I didn't bother with it. Fun fact, in Gen 1, Focus Energy was supposed to multiply your crit chance by 4, but it instead divided it by 4, making it nearly impossible to crit, making Focus Energy worse than doing nothing. I decided that I wanted as much experience as I could get before dealing with my rival again, because I am petrified of being sand attacked into oblivion again, so I went after Misty first. First, she sends out her Staryu, who I nearly instantly take out due to her using an X-Defend rather than actually attacking me. Totally took her out with a Hyper Fang and a Quick Attack. Next up is her Starmie, a much tougher Pokemon. Starmie opens with a Bubble Beam that drops Manbar to only 18 health and lowers his speed, while our Hyper Fang only takes off about half of Starmie's health. I decide that it's all or nothing, and I just go for another Hyper Fang, but Starmie uses X-Defend and survives again. Knowing that I'm slower and I just have to hope that I do enough damage, I go for a Quick Attack, leaving Starmie with a sliver of health. By sheer luck, Starmie uses Tackle and crits, but Manbar survives with only 2 health. One last Quick Attack, and I barely managed to beat Misty. I have to say, I'm actually having a ton of fun doing this challenge. It's not insanely brutal, but it's a kind of difficulty that I haven't had to deal with in a long time. I'd love to do more challenges like this. If you guys have any suggestions, either leave it in the comments or follow me on Twitter in the description and tweet them at me. I'd love to hear if you have any ideas. After that close call though, I healed up and I went north to the rival fight. Thankfully, my fears were unfounded and Hyper Fang made pretty short work of his team. You can tell I was overly worried when I bothered using a potion when his Abra was out. Nugget Bridge to the north was pretty standard, same old Pidgeys, Rattata, Oddishes that most trainers have been using up until this point. This hiker north of Nugget Bridge just about gave me a damn heart attack with how much he was using Screech, but thankfully the idiot didn't actually attack me after. Other than that, the route to Bill's house was simple enough. I'm very much starting to feel like Manbar is becoming a glass cannon, where as long as I get the first hit, I'm fine, and thanks to Quick Attack, that's easy. But if anything reasonably strong hits me with a strong move, it's a reason to worry. I'm not looking forward to when I start running into fighting-type Pokemon on the regular. Next on the path is Vermilion City. The Team Rocket member at the start of the path was insanely annoying to deal with because of his Drowsy putting me to sleep for a brutal 5 turns. And in Gen 1, you don't attack on the turn you wake up. Thankfully, once I did wake up, he wasn't all that tough and I took him out. I headed south and dealt with the rest of the trainers along the way to Vermilion City pretty easily. Once there, I healed up and grabbed the bike voucher from the Pokemon fan club. The bike isn't great in Gen 1, but it's better than nothing, and I do need to go on the cycling road eventually. I prefer that path. I also picked up 10 super potions since I can finally get those here, but annoyingly enough, they don't sell antidotes, and I really need more of those. The next stop is the SSN, so I get on board and go room by room taking out every single trainer. It's pretty slow, but nothing here really stands a chance against me. Some of the tankier Pokemon occasionally get hits in on me, and I did get poisoned by Tentacool once or twice, but overall the ship was easy. Even the rival fight ended up being a one-sided sweep. I have a feeling this comfortable 1 or 2 shot everything period isn't gonna last long once we pass through Rock Tunnel. I get the Cut HM, withdraw our Bulbasaur from the PC, and teach him Cut so we can go to Lieutenant Surge's gym. Keep in mind, we're not allowed to use that Bulbasaur in battle, but thankfully Surge doesn't have many Pokemon. I made short work of the trainers in the gym and thankfully only failed the trash can puzzle a few times before managing to completely mop the floor with Lieutenant Surge. No intense battle or fun story this time. I then headed east to clear out the route of trainers before heading back the way I came to go to Rock Tunnel. There are quite a few hikers with difficult rock Pokemon on the way to Rock Tunnel, but thankfully back in Lieutenant Surge's gym we unlocked Super Fang, so they aren't as bad to deal with as they could be. Super Fang takes out half of the opponent's current HP. The actual inside of Rock Tunnel is a pain since we don't have the Flash HM, but thankfully, I used to play this game so much as a kid that I can pretty much navigate the entire place based on muscle memory. It wasn't bad overall, but there were 2 different hikers that spammed self-destruct with Geodudes and Gravelers. If I didn't stock up on super potions back in Vermilion, there'd be no way I would have survived Rock Tunnel. Even with myself being double the level of them, they hit hard. I can already really feel that Rattata is a low health and low defense Pokemon. Thankfully, I make my way through Rock Tunnel first try and healed up in Lavender Town. I can't really do the Pokemon Tower without self-scope, so I decided to head west to Insert Name City. Oh man, when I was taking the notes, I forgot the name of Celadon apparently. Taking out all the trainers on my way for extra cash. Once I got there, the first thing I did was buy some fresh water from the top of the Pokemart and give it to the Saffron City guards just to get that out of the way, before heading over to Erica's gym. The gym was pretty uneventful other than a couple of Weeping Bells being awful to deal with between Stun Spore, Sleeping Powder, and wasting my time with Wrap. Wrap and Bind were really frustrating moves in Gen 1 because they would continually hurt you every turn and keep you from attacking until it's let go. This would often lead to incredibly long and frustrating battles, but thankfully I was faster than them so they couldn't completely stun lock me. Erica herself started off scary but ended easily. She opened with a Victory Bell using Razor Leaf. Now in Gen 1, crit chance is based on base speed. Between Victory Bell's high base speed and Razor Leaf being a high crit move, it was a near guarantee that Victory Bell would crit on every single attempt of Razor Leaf. It's a good thing I didn't miss because I wouldn't have survived being hit more than once. She followed up with a really pathetic Tangela, and I took the opportunity to heal. Then I got lucky and got a critical hit on Vileplume finishing the gym. After that, I healed up and headed straight to the game corner so I could tackle the Team Rocket hideout that's in there. I'll need the self-scope from there before I can deal with Pokemon Tower. The grunts were nothing to worry about, and I remember the puzzles pretty well. I even found some iron to help raise my very much lacking defense. Giovanni had me a bit worried at first because of his rock Pokemon, but Super Fang followed by a Hyper Fang is just such a solid combo at this point in the game that he didn't really put up a fight. I grabbed the Self Scope and headed back to Lavender Town to go to the Pokemon Tower for our next rival fight. I also made sure to buy some antidotes, super potions, and paralyze heals, since I was pretty low. Before doing that though, I used TM24 that we got from Surge to replace Tackle with Thunderbolt. I figured that we're going to need something to hit ghosts with, and that our rival also has a Gyarados that's double weak to electricity. I absolutely wreck the rival and just start climbing the tower. Hey, did you know that in Gen 1 Super Fang can hit ghosts, but Hyper Fang can't? Why? It's the same Pokemon using the same fangs. This is like how Galdine's Peck is good against plants, but its horn isn't. It's using the same horn with both moves. It's the same thing. Pokemon is weird. This is around the first point where I really started going out of my way to fight as few trainers as possible. Maybe I'm getting cocky, but this center part of the game has just started to get too easy, and I'm trying to speed it along. The Spirit Marowak was pretty easy despite my low health, and the Rocket Grunts at the end were entirely swept aside, landing me my very own Pokeflute. I wanted a challenge, so I decided to go to the optional fighting gym. The gym is just for Hitmonchan or Hitmonlee, neither which I'd be allowed to use, but I figured it'd be a fun side thing to do before I tackle the Team Rocket building in Saffron. After all, I'm using normal type Pokemon with low health and defense, so it's time for a real challenge. I swept the entire gym. I went straight for the Team Rocket building after that and rushed straight to the keycard since I remembered where it was. No way I'm fighting every trainer in here, this place is huge. I probably should have leveled more though, just because rushing into the rival fight was a terrible decision. That was easily the hardest fight in the game up till this point. Godfrey, my rival, opens with his Pidgeot, so I use Thunderbolt, and somehow only managed to bring it just down to below half health. Thankfully, the AI forgot what Pokemon battles are and uses Whirlwind, doing nothing, so I finished it off with a second Thunderbolt. Next up was Execute, and I dealt with that with a Hyper Fang for massive damage, but get hit with a Poison Powder. I take him out with a second Hyper Fang. Then came the real challenge. Godfrey sent out Gyarados. I thought it'd be a cakewalk because Thunderbolt being double super effective, but it left him with red health and paralyzed. He then nailed me with a Hydro Pump, bringing me down to only 26 health and still poisoned. I then missed a quick attack and thought it was all over, just to have an insane bout of luck as Gyarados missed his second Hydro Pump. I decided to use a Super Potion and hope for the best. Thankfully, he used a Bite, not doing too much damage. One quick attack finished him off. Next was Alakazam, and I instantly used another Super Potion. Again, Gen 1 AI being Gen 1 AI, the Alakazam with full health tried to use Recover, doing nothing. I took the opportunity to fully heal it with another Super Potion. Alakazam tried Recover, again. I missed with the Super Fang and got nailed with a critical hit confusion, nearly taking Manbar out. I made the panic decision to use a Max Potion, just to get hit by another confusion again, going down to half health. I then go for a Hyper Fang just to end up one-shotting him and realizing I should have done that way sooner. Lastly, he sends out his Charizard. I open with a Hyper Fang that surprisingly takes him down to below half health. The idiot used Leer on me when he could have easily finished me off, but in a stroke of bad luck, I missed with my second Hyper Fang. He then crit me with a Slash, leaving me with only 3 health. I follow up with another Hyper Fang, winning the fight by the skin of my teeth. Thank God in Gen 1 you don't take poison damage on a round where your move finishes off the enemy, or this would have been a blackout. That was a brutal fight. After, I got the free Lapras from the guy in the same room so that I'll have a Pokemon to surf with later in the game, then ran back to heal before coming back for more. Giovanni was a walk in the park by comparison, with me being able to easily deal with his Pokemon with a combo of Super Fangs and Hyper Fangs. I pick up my Master Ball, just in case I guess, left, healed up, and headed for Sabrina's Psychic Gym. I couldn't remember for the life of me what the pattern was that I was supposed to take to reach her, but it only took me about a minute to guess and just get there. It's a good thing all of her Pokemon have low defense so I could Hyper Fang her whole team to death quickly, because their levels were catching up to mine and her Psychic moves would have made short work of me. Because there wasn't Special Attack and Special Defense in Gen 1, just combined special stat, Psychic-type Pokemon tended to be really insanely strong. After getting her badge, I headed back west to pick up Fly and to fight the Snorlax to get to Cycling Road on my way to Fuchsia City. I decided to fight every biker on my way through the route. The close call with my rival and the sudden jump of levels of everyone's Pokemon reminded me why I have to fight every trainer. As soon as I got to Fuchsia City, I healed up, went to the PC, and got out TM8 for Body Slam. It's one that I got back on the SSN earlier in the game, and one that I probably should have used back then to replace Hyper Fang. Hyper Fang is 80 power, 90 accuracy, and a 10% flinch chance. Body Slam is 85 power, 100 accuracy, and 30% chance to paralyze. They both have 10 power points too. Personally, I'd rather a slight boost in power, 100 accuracy, and a strong chance to paralyze over a small chance to cause flinching. After that, it's straight to the Safari Zone. Nothing interesting to report here since you don't actually get into proper Pokemon battles. I just rushed for the end to get the gold teeth and HM1 for Surf. On my way through though, I caught a Doduo to teach it Fly, so that leaving Cinnabar Island later in the game won't be as much of a pain. Yes, you can teach a flightless bird Fly. I then gave the teeth to the dude missing his teeth and got HM3 for Strength. I taught both Strength and Surf to Lapras right away. Next step is the Poison Gym. The trainers in the gym ended up being no big deal now that I have the reliability of Body Slam's 100 accuracy. Koga himself was nothing to write home about other than the heart attack he gave me when his final Pokemon used self-destruct and I was sweating bullets as my health ticked down. Thankfully, I survived. And yeah, I have other Pokemon for HMU, so I technically would have survived, but I would have reloaded to save if that happened. As far as I'm concerned, Manbar fainting is a blackout. Next is on to Cinnabar Island. I flew back to Pallet Town and surfed down from there because there's no chance in hell I'm gonna take the path of the Seafoam Islands. The biggest challenge on my way to Cinnabar was just trying not to run out of power points. Once I got there, I healed, I'm sure you're sick of hearing me say that every time, and then I went straight for the Pokmon Mansion. I've always had a love-hate relationship with this place. On one hand, Coughing is my second favorite Pokemon, and Poison is my favorite type, so there's some fun stuff to catch here. On the other hand, the puzzles in this place are a pain, and it might just be my imagination, but the encounter rate here feels really high. Plus, getting poisoned in random encounters really sucks. You've got to do the Pokemon Mansion if you want to get the key to the Fire Gym though, so here we are. I was able to navigate the place without too much trouble and gained quite a bit of experience off the high-level enemies here. I made sure to pick up the TM for Blizzard since I'd probably end up needing that to save me in the 8th gym. I hunted down the secret key, escape roped out, and headed for the Fire Gym. I also went to the mart and picked up 5 Hyper Potions, since Super Potions are getting to be a bit weak at this point. Now in Blaine's Fire Gym, you're supposed to answer trivia questions to open doors, and if you fail them, you have to fight trainers. But I just chose to fight every trainer for the experience. I swept the entire gym like it was nothing, including Blaine due to him being an idiot and using Roar with his Arcanine instead of Fire Blast that would have almost for sure one-shotted me. I then got my TM for Blizzard out of the PC and replaced Super Fang. I only really used it to deal with Rock-type Pokemon anyway, and Blizzard is going to be a lifesaver in the Ground Gym and Viridian, so that's where I fly to next. Weirdly enough, despite Giovanni being the Ground Gym leader, his entire team only knows 2 ground moves. Dig on Dugtrio and Fissure on Rhydon. That's not even a damaging move, that's an insta-kill. His whole team goes down to Blizzard and Quick Attack pretty easily, posing no real challenge. I heal up and head west to make my way to the Rival Battle and then Victory Road. The second from last Rival Battle went incredibly well due to a complete fluke. Gyarados missed his Hydro Pump that would have probably left him with a sliver of health at best. Even with Thunderbolt being double super effective against him, I can't take him out in one shot, so I'm really not looking forward to the final fight of the game. The rest of the battle goes smoothly thanks to Charizard's Rage, a nearly useless move in Gen 1. Victory Road was slow but reasonably easy due to liberal use of Max Repels. Clearing out every trainer in the place wasn't the safest thing at times, but I need every last bit of experience that I can get. The Elite Four is probably going to be the second time in the game that I really need to properly grind for levels, so leveling up off the trainers early will save some time. I decided to take a crack at the Elite Four and see if I stand a chance against any of them at all. I figure I'll need to be at least level 80, but I'm already level 68 and I want to give it a try. First, I stock up on full restores, hyper potions, and full heals. Then I fly back to Celadon and buy a bunch of X-Defend, X-Special, and Dire Guard, because I figure it's the only way I'm gonna survive the final rival fight, especially his damn Gyarados. Then, it's time for the first attempt at the Elite Four, starting with Ice Trainer Lorelei. She sends out her Dugong, a Pokemon that's either really easy or really hard to deal with, depending on what she does. I open with Thunderbolt doing just under half her health and damage. Thankfully, Dugong just uses rest to go to sleep and I finish it off with some more Thunderbolts. I got lucky. Next is Cloyster, who gets paralyzed on my Thunderbolt and fails to attack, going down to a second one. Then she sends out Slowbro, who goes to half health off a Thunderbolt, then growls. Needless to say, he didn't last long either. Next up is Jinx, who's paralyzed off one solid Body Slam, fails to attack, and is finished with a Quick Attack. Last is Lapras, an actual big challenge. Thunderbolt only does about a third of its health and damage, as it crits us with a Body Slam taking out half of our health. I decide to use my own Body Slam just to do another third, as its Body Slam in return crits yet again, leaving us with only 6 health. I Thunderbolt for a very narrow victory. I heal up and move on to Bruno, the fighting and rock trainer. He starts with an Onix, who I one-shot with Blizzard. Next out comes Hitmonchan, who surprisingly almost dies in one Body Slam. His Thunder Punch does almost nothing to me, so I finish him off with a Quick Attack. His Hitmonlee would have been a massive threat to one-shot us, if not for how our first body slam was enough to one-shot him. Next up is another Onix that we one-shot with a Blizzard. So far so easy, but last up he has a brutal level 58 Machamp. He takes half his health in damage from a body slam, but uses an X defend to get tankier. I misclick like an idiot and use Quick Attack instead of Hyper Fang, and get one shot with his submission. It wasn't even a crit, it's just that strong. In fairness, there's no way I would have killed him with Hyper Fang after he uses X defend anyway. Machamp is just too strong. After that failed attempt, I load my save so I don't lose half my money, and then start grinding at Victory Road. 20 minutes and only 2 levels later, I realized that grinding at Victory Road is the worst thing in the universe, and decided that instead of just grinding by fighting the Elite Four over and over, I can pretty reliably beat Lorelei and at least part of Bruno's team, and they give way more experience. The downside is that you can't just walk out of the Elite Four once you start, you have to black out losing half your current money. So I spend nearly all of my money on max potions, full restores, and full heals, and then deposit my HM Pokemon since I don't need them anymore. Also, I accidentally bought 5 Dire Hits back in Celadon because I'm dumb and forgot that much like Focus Energy, they're glitched out and lower your crit chance rather than raising it. Also during the grind, I decided to hunt down every power point up in the game that you can get before beating the Elite Four, and max out the power points on Blizzard from 5 to 8, since I'll be needing to use it a lot, and ethers are limited. I'm sure you don't want to watch me lose to the Elite Four over and over and over, so let's skip forward to when I hit level 80 and make my next real attempt with items and everything. Lorelei goes almost the exact same as last time, with Lapras being the only real threat. Despite being 12 levels higher than last time, it still hardly gets hurt by my attacks, and hits me with a Body Slam and a Blizzard, the latter nearly taking me out. I heal up after the fight and move on to Bruno. His fight is still a cakewalk up until the level 58 Machamp, who thankfully fights like an idiot. One Body Slam takes him down to low health and he leers me. A second Body Slam takes him out. I hardly even need to heal after this one. I did use ethers on both Thunderbolt and Blizzard to max them out, as I thought I'd need it for the next member of the Elite Four. Next up is the Ghost Trainer Agatha, who was an absolute brick wall for me while I was leveling my team. She starts the fight with a Gengar who hardly takes any damage from my Thunderbolts and Blizzards. Thankfully, her gimmick saves me. Agatha often switches her Pokemon, but almost completely at random, and it lets me get free hits. So even though my Blizzard hardly hurt Gengar, she switched to Golbat, who I took out in 2 Thunderbolts. If you're wondering about her using a Super Potion, by the way, in Gen 1, trainers pick their move the moment it happens, rather than at the start of the round like you do. So they cheat. She then sends out the wounded Gengar who I hit with another Blizzard just for her to switch to a random Haunter. I Blizzard that one, and she switches it back out for the damaged Gengar. Again. I Blizzard it and it faints. If you're keeping track, she hasn't done a move the entire fight so far. Out comes the damaged Haunter. I Thunderbolt and it finally hits me with a Nightshade for a big chunk of damage, before I end it with another Thunderbolt. I Body Slam her Arbok for a one-shot, and out comes her last Gengar. I spam Blizzard some more, full well knowing that since she can't switch, she'll actually be a challenge now. Instantly I get blasted by Toxic, badly poisoning Manbar. I miss the next Blizzard, but she tries Dream Eater even though I'm awake. Another Blizzard and Gengar is below half health, but confuses Manbar. Thankfully, Manbar doesn't hit himself in confusion and lands another Blizzard as Gengar nearly takes me out with Nightshade. I use a full restore to fully heal and remove the poisoning while the Gengar uses a Super Potion. I land a Thunderbolt bringing it to red health as I take one last Nightshade before finishing it off with a Thunderbolt. No way I would have beaten Agatha if she didn't fight like an idiot. I heal up, use an elixir to max out my power points on all my moves before moving on to the next room. Last of the Elite Four is Dragon Trainer Lance. This is what I've been preparing for with my 8 power point Blizzard. In Gen 1, Ice moves are the only super effective moves on Dragon Pokemon, since the only Dragon move was Dragon Rage and it did set damage. Well, Dragonite is Dragon and Flying, so it's double weak to Ice, and Blizzard is damn strong, even on a Rattata. First up is Gyarados, who I Thunderbolt and completely one-shot. Next is Dragonair, and I miss Blizzard and get slammed for a small chunk of damage. Second Blizzard hits and one-shots. Then is another Dragonair, another Blizzard, and another one-shot. Aerodactyl's next, 1 Blizzard, 1 shot. Last is Dragonite, 1 Blizzard, and it's done. Blizzard made Lance into a complete pushover, even with Rattata's abysmal special stat. Lance may have been the last member of the Elite Four, but the final battle with Godfrey is the real final trainer of the game. I heal up and restore my power points again with a max elixir, and move on to the final fight. Normally, I'd be doomed, but little did he know, I prepared for this. He opens with Pidgeot, and it was over as soon as it started. I instantly use a guard spec to become immune to stat decreases, so he can't sand attack me into oblivion as he prepares for a sky attack. I then use X Defend to beef up my defenses as his sky attack does 50 damage. Another X Defend, he whirlwinds. Another X Defend, and he crits for another 50. You can see my strategy, but it's not foolproof. Crits bypass stat changes, so one unlucky crit, and I could be dead. Another X Defend, another whirlwind. My 5th X Defend, and unless he crits, he basically can't fight me. I spam out 6 X specials to make sure that I'm not going down to a special move and heal up when I need to, as Pidgeot just doesn't know how to fight against this strategy. One Thunderbolt and he goes down. From this point on, it's all about speed, the one good stat of a Rattata. As long as I always hit first and don't give them a chance to crit me, I can win. Alakazam goes down to 1 Body Slam, Rhydon goes down to 1 Blizzard, Executor goes down to 1 Blizzard, Gyarados goes down to 1 Thunderbolt, and lastly Charizard goes down to 1 Blizzard. I didn't miss once in the very end and outsmarted my rival, winning the game with a single level 82 Rattata, earning my place in the Hall of Fame. Well, level 83 because I leveled after the last kill, but that doesn't count. That's it! This challenge actually ended up being a lot easier than I thought. I'd only grinded 2 times in the entire playthrough, and I only had to grind for less than an hour each time, partly aided by the speed up mode, mind you. Also, it only took me 2 days to beat the entire game. If I were to count up all the time I spent actually playing the game rather than tabbing out to write these notes, I bet I only played for a grand total of 7 hours, considering my footage has about 8. That said, I still had a ton of fun. If you're curious as to what the playthrough would have looked like in full, I've got it playing at hyperspeed right now. I recorded the entire thing to make sure I didn't miss anything important, and also so that I had proof that it's actually legit. If you're looking to challenge yourself over the weekend, give this one a try. Maybe you could come up with a more creative way to win the final rival battle at an even lower level, or without using so many items. And again, I'd love to do more challenges like this, so if you have any ideas, let me know on Twitter or in the comment section of the video. If you want to see any more Pokemon stuff from me, I did a ton of Pokemon Let's Plays over the years, although most of them are pretty old. My Pokemon Platinum one was probably the funniest one I did. A Let's Play that took me about 4 years to finish because I kept getting so busy with other things. I also stream all the time on Twitch TV, so check out the link in the description. Come yell at me to play everything but what I'm already playing, because this is the internet. Thank you everybody so much for watching, and until next time, have a nice day.